Praise be Jesus Christ and Mary Immaculate. Welcome to this third Sunday of Advent. We're going to read from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verses 2 to 11. Jesus is the anointed one of God. Jesus is the Christ, and he has been anointed, set apart. He has been anointed by God to bring about the actions of God, to bring about the kingdom of God into the people of his time and even to our time today. And he does this by bringing the actions of God towards people, by doing for the people what God would have done for them. And Jesus comes with these actions that are life-giving, that are renewing, that are forgiving, that bring people back to the fold, that brings the outsiders back to being insiders, to make everyone belong and be part of this great family of God. And he does this to everyone. And that's exactly what the problem is during the Sunday's gospel, is that he does this not only to the people of Israel, not only to those that are his friends, not only to those that belong to the fold, but to everyone, including those who don't merit it, including his enemies, including those who were seen as outsiders and completely outside of the realm of the salvation of God. And this makes people uneasy. These actions by Jesus are not the actions that John the Baptist had described last week. You remember John the Baptist, who came preparing the way of the Lord, yes, but he was proclaiming and expecting a Messiah that was ready to come to judge, that was ready to come and separate people from the good and the bad, to reward the good and punish the bad. He came with the axe in hand, and he was any tree that did not produce good fruit, he was going to chop off and throw into the eternal fire. And Jesus comes doing exactly the opposite. He has nothing to do with the Messiah proclaimed by John the Baptist. And in this whole thing, the only one that's in crisis is John the Baptist. Let's take a look. When John the Baptist heard in prison, John the Baptist is in prison because he went against the lifestyle of King Herod, and King Herod put him in prison. John the Baptist hears of the works of the Christ. And this is important. He hears of the works of the Christ. What are these works of the Christ? They are the works that Jesus is doing in bringing life to people. Bringing life to people and bringing life to situations that seemed hopeless, including to those who are sinners, including to those who are the enemies, including to those who do not belong to the fold. And he sent his disciples of John the Baptist. John the Baptist sends his disciples to Jesus with a question because he's confused. He's in a crisis. He doesn't know what to say. He's saying, are you the one who is to come, or should we look for another? I mean, when are you going to start acting like the Messiah that I was preaching about? When are you going to start acting and putting into practice what you're supposed to be doing? And John the Baptist is not the only one who goes through this crisis. Many times during the life of Jesus, some of his contemporaries asked the question, is he not the son of Joseph? Is he not the carpenter's son? Meaning, why is he acting and thinking absolutely different than what everybody expects or thinks? Then Jesus says to the disciples of John in reply, go and tell John what you hear and what you see. Meaning, he's not giving him a theological response. He's not talking to them in scriptural passages. He's not giving them a response that has to do anything with religion. He's responding with concrete actions. Go and tell John what you see and what you hear, meaning what you've experienced. Maybe they have experienced it themselves. I mean, maybe it's something that they have experienced. I mean, how many times have you or I experienced the mercy of God? How many times have we maybe experienced that God really has shown favor to me even when I didn't deserve it? When was God life-giving to me? When was I forgiven what I thought was unforgivable? And how many times has God done that to me or to you? That's the question, is Jesus saying. Go and tell John what you see and what you hear. And he gives them 6 works. And these 6 works could be related to the 6 days of creation, meaning these 6 works that Jesus does are the works of the Messiah that are creative works, that bring life to people. And you can find these works in the book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 35 and 61. The blind regain their sight. The lame walk. The lepers are cleansed. And leprosy was seen not only as an illness, but as a curse from God. The lepers are cleansed. The deaf hear. The dead are raised. And the poor have the good news proclaimed to them. What is missing here? There's one missing. There's one missing that Isaiah all the time proclaims is part of the Messiah's work. And that is, he brings about the day of vengeance of our God. And Jesus has nothing to do with God's vengeance. Jesus has no need to bring about vengeance to anyone because Jesus doesn't see anyone as his enemies. And then Jesus adds this, and blessed is the one who takes no offense at me. Meaning there's a beatitude here. Blessed is the one who takes no offense at me. This is interesting. What would cause somebody to be offended by what Jesus just said? I mean, when we think about a God who is judging, who is punishing, who is going to damn people to hell, who's going to reward the good and send the bad to hell. I mean, it's a scary thought when we used to say, remember, God is always watching. It was pretty scary, but it's pretty normal and pretty accepted. This wasn't scandalous. It was fearful, but it wasn't scandalous. God's mercy is scandalous. People are offended because God is so good. And they're offended when somebody preaches that God is so good, that he does not punish anyone, that he does not damn anyone to hell, that even if somebody was in hell, there is a chance for salvation, that God will never give up trying to save us. People get so offended with this, especially religious people who think that because of their merits or because of their works, they have earned the mercy of God. And the fact that God does not destroy his enemies, but wants them in heaven with them, a God who wants his enemies in paradise with him, just like Jesus said on the cross at Golgotha, looking over to the thief that was condemned with him, today you will be with me in paradise. This, my friends, is scandalous to people. This is what people take offense of. What is the lesson for us today? For us to work towards this beatitude. And blessed is the one who takes no offense at Jesus. Let's not be offended by God's mercy and compassion. Let instead listen to the command that Jesus gives to the disciples of John the Baptist. Go and tell John what you hear and what you see. How and when have you experienced God's unconditional mercy for you, even when you didn't deserve it? God bless you.